Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, September 9th, 2024, and the time now is 6 p.m. And I will call to order this regular meeting of the Town of Mead Board of Trustees. In accordance with the town's remote participation and remote meeting policy adopted by the Board of Trustees on March 13th, 2023 by resolution number 21-R-2023, remote participation will be allowed. The meeting link has been provided on the town's website and designated posting place 24 hours prior to this meeting. I'd like to remind everyone present, both in person and virtually, of the town's general guidelines for public comment at open meetings and public hearings. The guidelines are available online and on the entry table. There are 2 public comment opportunities on the agenda for persons in attendance at Town Hall to address the board. The first is limited to the items on the agenda, and the second public comment opportunity allows any subject, whether it is on the agenda or not, to be addressed. Mary, roll call, please.
Mayor Whitlow.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright.
Here.
Trustee Adams.
Here.
Trustee Broadhead. Trustee Harris.
Here.
Trustee Parr.
Here.
Trustee Schranz.
Here.
Mayor Whitlow, today is Monday, September 9th, 2024, and you do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. On the cusp of another anniversary of the tragic event on September 11th, 2001, please join me in a moment of silence as we remember and reflect on those who lost their lives and all who have bravely responded. Thank you very much for your time. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next is review and approve agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as is?
I would like to pull number. Which one is it? I know, sorry. Number E, please, off the consent agenda.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion to remove item E?
Do I have to make a motion?
Yes.
I will move to remove item 9E from the consent agenda for discussion.
Thank you. Is there a second? Very much. Thank you. Roll call, please, Mary.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright.
Yes.
Trustee Harris.
Yes.
Trustee Schranz.
Yes.
Trustee Adams.
Yes.
Trustee Parr.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you very much. Motion carries. We have an agenda for this evening. Next is our staff report by our town manager. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. You have my report. There are a couple things I'd like to highlight. First of all, please remember this Saturday is Community Day starting at 4 o'clock. We've been busily preparing for it all summer, so we're really excited. And of course, our headliner band is The Long Run. It takes the stage at 8 p.m. So hopefully everybody will make it and it'll be another exciting day in Meadtown Park. Couple other things that have come up. Today, you should have received an invitation from Mary for the town and county dinner. They have that every year. It's on the 30th of October, which is a Wednesday at the county building. Interestingly, they're going to do a presentation on coordinated planning agreements by Elizabeth Relford. So I actually think it's going to be a really interesting presentation because she's been working on that for the last 6 months. So it just shows the cooperative efforts between the county and the towns. So let Mary know if you can go to that. And then I wanted to make you aware that we did issue a peddler's permit to Nikola Stoikov. He can be going door to door and he will have a badge, but he's selling educational books for Southwestern Advantage. We do have 2 other active peddlers. There's Xfinity and Comcast, which many of you have probably gotten a door hanger. They are going door to door and they are definitely moving through Mead with their services. And then we also have someone with Edward Jones. And if there are political candidates, you don't need a peddler's license because you're not selling anything. So if a political candidate or somebody representing one of the ballot initiatives, they are allowed to go door to door, just so that you know that. And other than that, I have nothing else to add to my report.
Questions or comments for Helen? Tricia?
I had one, Helen. So you have on here that there was an 18% decrease in property tax revenue. But in an email you sent, you said that Firestone only had like an 8% decrease. Are we investigating
Yeah,
why that was? Because that seems like a pretty big difference. Like, are we just saying, oh, okay, that's weird?
well, no, we're definitely looking into it. It
Okay.
isn't the property tax, it's the assessed value, which ultimately, I mean, I use the words because there's so many things that are changing now, you know, with the state passing the new law where they're lowering the valuation that gets taxed. Mary and I are looking into it because it did seem fairly high, and I'm not sure why Firestone's was only 8%. But it is something that we'll get more information on. It's just the first blush,
Okay,
but it did seem like a fairly steep drop.
right.
And I just want to make you aware of it.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tricia. Anyone else? All right. Thank you, Helen, very much. Okay, we'll move on to our informational items tonight. The first one is our police update by our Chief Newbanks. Sir, you have the podium.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. I thought I'd bring tonight a little presentation on our property and evidence unit. Probably know Michelle Ray is our records and evidence technician. So this is under her purview. And since I've been here, we've essentially been under construction with property and evidence. Starting with a small closet and working our way into a shipping container and now into the majority of the shop building that's over at the current police department. With a fair amount of retrofitting to make sure that that's secure and where it needs to be to work for us. So I wanted to kind of go over how that system works. And you want to change slides or can I? Oh, you got. So here's kind of the process. Evidence works its way through the chain of custody, initiating with the officers who are out on the street collecting evidence. They bring it into the police department, package it. Packaging assists in a number of ways, but it's very important because many of the items that they collect have some hazardous value to them. So in particular, drugs. So they're very careful about how those are packaged in a way that they can be handled and stored safely. And certainly we want to protect Michelle, make sure that she's not coming into contact with anything that she shouldn't. So there are very strict guidelines and policies in place to ensure that the officers are collecting and packaging those items correctly. And then they're logged into evidence storage, and you see a picture of the gray lockers. And at the bottom of that is actually a refrigerator that works the same, but those are one-way lockers. So officers put their evidence in there, shut the door, and they can't get it back open. Only Michelle can retrieve that evidence from the other side. And that's to preserve the chain of custody. There are occasionally times officers need to lock things up briefly. They might be dealing with a number of arrestees or something and have some evidence they need secured. So there are some temporary lockers. You see those blue ones there. And next to that is a white refrigerator or freezer for frozen evidence storage, which is also locked up. And so that's kind of how the evidence works its way through the chain there, ends up being stored. Every item and evidence has a tag on it. Looks kind of like I blew this one up, but this is a printed out on a sticker label that goes on every piece of evidence. And that way Michelle knows exactly what's in the box, the paper sack. A lot of it is secured in clear plastic, like the license plate there. That's secured in clear plastic and then heat sealed on the ends. You can see the initials and dates over that heat seal or on the red evidence tape, whatever is required. The initials and date. Again, preserve the chain of custody for the officer that's packaging that. And should that item end up going to court, that becomes very important that the item was secure and not tampered with between the time the officer collected it and presented it in court. You can go to the next one. So as we work through our finding facilities to store our evidence securely, we also found that it's very important to have a system where that database where this information is documented, that's secure. And so we've the last 3 or 4 years been using Tracker products, a product called Tracker Safe. It's a web-based system that collects that information. So the officers are entering this information directly into this software system, and then that's what prints out the label. It also securely holds digital evidence, which, as you can imagine, we're collecting more and more digital evidence, more and more photographs. Those are also stored in this system and securely on the web, so they can be entered and retrieved easily by the officers, either on their laptop or even on their cell phone. There's an app that they can use. They can take photographs with their phone. It doesn't even have to be saved on their phone. It can be saved directly into the software system, which is also an advantage and a feature that we like. The next one, just some features of this system. It generates reminders to dispose of evidence. So one of the probably largest jobs of this for Michelle is getting rid of what we have. Obviously, if we keep collecting physical evidence, we will run out of room. So it's very important that we get rid of what we don't need anymore. And so this system does a very good job of reminding her when things can be disposed of. And we've worked through several systems to have avenues to get rid of those physical pieces of evidence once we're done with them and free up that space for new storage. The other thing that has been extremely time consuming in the past is doing a complete inventory of evidence. Anytime we bring in a new person in that position, we want to completely go through and inventory every single piece of evidence and make sure that it's all there, both for the benefit of the person that's leaving and the person that's coming in, to make sure that they're starting with everything that they think they're starting with. This system, now that we're organized and have some space, allows us to do that full inventory in about a day. It used to take maybe over a week to physically go through and make sure we had everything. It was extremely time consuming. Now we can do it in about a day. And it's much faster. As you saw on the tags, there's a QR code. That's what this corner up here is a QR code. So that's read by the scanner. It's very efficient. And then we can also seal boxes of evidence. So many items in one case can be sealed in one box. That's inventoried one time and then sealed, obviously, so we can tell if it's been tampered with, and then we never unseal it. Every time that's scanned for an inventory, it's done one time. And so that makes it much more efficient, which we really like. And then we're required to do frequent audits. And this system will generate those audits, random audits for us, so that we can comply with that requirement of accreditation that is important that we do that. Where I think we're required to do it yearly, we do those quarterly. just to have a little more checks. And then we do one full inventory every year, unless we have, again, personnel swapping out of that position, we would do one for that as well. Go to the next one. This is the type of information that's generated by that system. So total number of items that have come through since we've been using it, almost 4,600 pieces of evidence, 1,800 digital photos, the rest, and then 330 digital videos. The rest is physical evidence, like drug paraphernalia, 244 items, firearms, 152. I'm sure you remember that we took 70 some in one case. So a large number of firearms. Those take up a lot of space. And as you can imagine, most of those cases take a long time to get disposed, so we hold on to them for quite a while. And so that also shows the number of items. If you go to the next one, 679 of those items have already been disposed of. And that process for disposal is really getting more and more efficient. So currently checked in, what we have in storage is 3,874 items. Checked out would be items that are at the lab, mostly drugs being tested, or items that have drug residue on them, that type of thing, or maybe some other type of physical evidence test. 49 of those are currently checked out to the lab. And if you go to the next slide, this will kind of show you just kind of the progress we've made. The light blue is evidence coming in. It does fluctuate. Some months are just busier than others. And then the dark blue is what's been disposed of. As you can see, that's a little bit cyclical. And when we kind of got organized and were able to dispose of a bunch of items, that usually happens all at once. So very common to see those spikes in that, but it's operating the way it should. The next slide will just give you a little bit of an idea of what we take in on a monthly basis. About 1,000 items in the last year, 61 items in the last 30 days. I think there's really too much else. And again, the items disposed of. And you can also see the number of cases, 436 in the last year. Obviously, several of those cases have multiple items as a part of them. And then the final slide just has some pictures of the evidence. This is inside the shop area. So in order to make that secure and usable for our evidence storage, we did replace the roll-up door. We also added video surveillance and security system. And then there's a chain link wall that actually separates that part of the building from the other part, keeping it secure. The far end has a couple bays on it that we utilize for vehicle maintenance and vehicle processing. A lot of times our evidence is collected out of vehicles. Vehicles are processed for fingerprints and that type of thing. And those bays work really well for that, just being able to get out of the elements and even lock down a vehicle if we need to for a period of time. And then there's one more slide that just shows this is the same area. You can see the shipping container is actually inside the building. We're required to have a couple levels of security for items such as firearms, jewelry, cash, that type of more valuable items are required to be have a secondary locked area. So that shipping container works really nice for that. It's very secure, provides a good amount of storage. And that top right picture is actually a picture inside of that shipping container. So I hope that was helpful just to kind of understand where we've come with our evidence, the storage and processing. Always happy to give a tour or anything if you'd like, but if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to answer it.
Okay, Herman and then Chris.
One question, Chief. On the average, what's the lifespan of evidence?
That's really hard to say. Just because it depends on the case. Drugs, it's a lot longer just because those cases tend to take much more time to work through the legal system, and they're felonies. We do take a fair amount of property that's held for safekeeping. And a lot of times that's 90 to 180 days. Those items can be disposed of if they're not claimed or retrieved. And so it really varies depending on what piece of property we're talking about. I don't really have an average as far as what, and it wouldn't really mean much anyway, because there's just such a disparity between what's taken as maybe safekeeping or a misdemeanor case versus felonies. And that one case with the 70 some guns, that suspect actually ended up being arrested for homicide in Thailand. And we don't know when or if we're going to get a disposition on those. They're holding our felony case and the warrant's still active on it. So it could be a while on those, which is unusual, right? Typically, your suspect doesn't go international and disappear like that. So it really depends on, it's more dependent on the level of the case being felony or misdemeanor or safekeeping property than it is.
Are we talking terms of months, years?
So in misdemeanors and safekeeping found property, you're talking months, maybe up to a year. Felony cases, you're probably talking 2 to 3 years.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's what I was getting at.
Yep.
Thanks.
You said digital evidence. Is that checked out and a copy of it left, or is it a copy that's when I'm assuming it's checked out, so there's an audit record of who looked at the evidence?
Correct. So anytime we receive an evidence request, so if it's physical evidence, sometimes we get a request to view the evidence, we can pull it out and actually provide a viewing. If it's digital evidence, we can actually make them a copy of it and provide that. We will do that. That is all recorded in the audit trail and chain of custody within the software system.
Thanks.
All the cases that the evidence is held for, are those here in Mead or are some of them elsewhere? And if so, does the evidence ever get shipped out with them to that particular area or case?
So the vast majority of the evidence is collected by Mead officers, from within our jurisdiction for cases that our officers are prosecuting in Weld County courts. Occasionally, we may have evidence that we would collect in assisting another agency, either inside the state or outside the state, that we would then possibly transfer to that agency if the prosecution was occurring in their jurisdiction, and we had just assisted them with maybe collecting a piece of evidence because someone had moved here or something like that. So it's pretty rare that happens, but it does happen. And sometimes physical evidence is transferred. And obviously digital is much easier to transfer.
Chief, thank you very much. Tell Michelle she's doing a great job.
Thank you.
All right. All right, next on our agenda is Community Day, September 14th, which is Saturday, and they'll be presented by our Public Information Officer, Community Engagement Director, Lorelei Nelson. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm just going to give you a quick sneak peek at Community Day this Saturday. So this year we have 50 vendors, local businesses, nonprofit, political, informational, a wide spectrum. It's the most vendors we've had since I've been here, so in the last 5 years. And we're up about 6 from last year. So increasing is always good. This year we had a wait list. And so it speaks to how the Community Day event is getting publicly known. We have a variety of food trucks. We have pizza, barbecue. We are introducing sushi this year, along with rancheros. And our dessert truck is snowy churro and glacier ice cream. For our free activities, we have laser tag, rock wall, bungee trampoline, and face painting. Our bands, our first one is Eric Golden. He is a Colorado country guy, classic country. He does honky tonk. He has some original music. He's been awarded Colorado music nominations for his honky tonk and original music. And then our headliner is The Long Run. They take the stage at 8 and they are a tribute to Eagles Band. Our in-kind sponsors are the Mead Area Chamber of Commerce. They do their annual cornhole tournament, as well as the nonprofit alcohol sales for the event. Grandview is doing their bounce houses and they have complimentary treats this year. Snow cones, and free popcorn and different varieties. And we're always happy to have both those folks out there helping out with the event. And then as a reminder, Community Day and the Homecoming Parade is September 27th. You may remember last few years ago, we decided to combine those 2 separate parades into one. So it's September 27th. It's free to sign up. It's open to the public. So far, we have 24, which is right in line with last year. The registration deadline is September 16th, which is Monday. The biggest change that we've made to parades this year is we're not allowing candy to be thrown from the floats. We saw some major issues with that at the Christmas in the Park parade. So anybody that's wanting to hand out candy, they have to have designated walkers. So we're relaying that to all of our participants for this parade and for the Christmas in the Park parade, so they know what to expect. If we see that happening, they will not be able to participate, unfortunately, because it's such a hazard with kids running into the street and moving vehicles. It's not something that we want to see. So upcoming events, and new this year, we have a Name the Snowplow contest, and that's running from September till October. We'll start advertising that after Community Day, and we've notified the school they're going to get some information out to their kiddos. That's open for Mead Elementary School students. Additionally, we have the flag retirement ceremony, and that's on September 28th. We'll have fall cleanup days running October 14th through the 26th. The Chamber's Trick or Treat Street is October 26th. And then Christmas in the Park is December 7th. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
Good job.
Thanks, Lorelei.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our proclamation tonight. It's Constitution Week, September 16th through 2024. And I've asked Trustee Parr to read the proclamation.
Constitution Week, September 16th to 22nd, 2024. Whereas September 17th, 2024 marks the 237th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and the patriotic celebration which will commence the occasion, and Whereas during Constitution Week, the town of Mead and the entire nation reflects on the significance of our Constitution and gives thanks for the blessings of liberty that this document helps to create secure. We honor the men and women who have supported and defended it throughout our history, at times with their lives. Now, therefore, Colleen Whitlow, by virtue and authority vested in her as the mayor of town of Mead of Colorado, does hereby proclaim the week of September 16th through 22nd as Constitution Week. And I ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals that have framed the Constitution had in 1787 by diligently protecting the freedoms granted to us throughout the guardians of our liberties, remembering that the lost rights may never be regained. Given under her hand and seal, the town of Mead, Colorado, this 9th day of September, 2024.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the signing of this proclamation?
I'll move to approve the signing.
Second?
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Harris,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Shranz,
Yes.
Trustee Parr,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes, thank you. Next is our public comment. The board welcomes public comment at this time for any item on the agenda. We will also take comments for items not on the agenda during the second public comment, item number 10. Excuse me. The board will listen to your comments and take them into consideration. If you desire a conversation, please email the board or the town manager or attend the monthly coffee with the mayor. If you wish to speak during this public comment period, please adhere to the town's general guidelines. Please start by stating your full name and address for the record. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the Board of Trustees. If you're representing a group, you will have 5 minutes. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to speak to the Board of Trustees on any item that is on the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our consent agenda. What we'll do is we'll make a motion for the consent agenda and then bring up number E, ordinance number 1066. Okay, the consent agenda contains items which are considered routine and are approved with one motion and vote. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda minus number E?
I move to approve the consent agenda, less item 9E. Is it 9?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Parr,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
Trustee Harris,
Yes.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
Trustee Shranz.
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff, for putting all of this together. We appreciate it very much. We'll move on to number E, ordinance number 1066. We'll open up for discussion. And if there's any questions, Chief Newbanks is in the room. Tricia?
So I guess I just kind of want to understand what our reasoning is for opting out of this law. I mean, it just wasn't very clearly, it just says, we're just going to do it. Why? Why are we allowing firearms into this building when we're having meetings? And I just want to know why. I don't know if that's Chief Newbanks or I don't know who, but
We have yeah, okay.
So I think that's the discussion. So this is a new law that just passed. And so the discussion is whether to put basically screening in place to enforce that for this meeting or to opt out of it, which is an option. We do screen for municipal court. Rather intense undertaking by the department requires additional members of our staff to do that. Court is a little bit different than an open public meeting, so there may be concerns about screening everyone that is coming to a public meeting. But I think that's sort of the issues to be discussed.
okay.
Have any?
I mean, I guess
So we've-
personally, I'm not comfortable.
But we've always carried in here. I've always carried in here. There's multiple trustees that have carried in here.
Okay, but you're not the general public.
Well, that means I can't carry to protect myself.
It's everyone or no one.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it would also include the officers, if I'm not mistaken, you would not be able to carry also, is that correct?
We're exempted.
yeah, that would not seem logical. So what would it take to screen people? You're saying it takes how much more manpower? We're not talking like needing a metal detector or anything, right? You just pat people down? What do you do, I guess?
We have a wand that detects metal.
Okay,
So we hand screen each person. And if anything is detected, they then remove that from their pockets, or we remove it and determine what it is. So any knives, guns, anything like that would be not. Well, it would, I guess it would depend on, we would sort of need to come up with a policy in court. If we're using the same thing as court, we don't allow any weapons, which includes pocket knives or anything like that. So if we're doing that same screening, that's what we do. Requires at least 2 officers. Just, I'm gonna put 1 officer there to do that kind of screening without another to assist. Yeah, we do it for court. I don't know, it takes, it probably only takes 2 minutes a person. Like, they empty their pockets into a container. It's much like TSA, right? We just don't have a full-size standing magnetometer or anything like that. So we use a hand wand.
okay. So, I mean, if we are screening people who come in here for guns, then why do the trustees need to carry guns? Plus, we have officers in here who have guns. Why do trustees need to have guns on them?
I'm not sure I can answer.
I guess somebody else answer me. I don't understand. I get it's your right to carry a gun.
Mhm. Yep.
If you have a concealed carry permit. I have a concealed carry permit too. But I don't want the general public coming in here with a gun. I'm sorry, I don't.
Can I ask a question? Wouldn't you be required to screen everybody that enters the front door? Because the way this is written, it only excludes, it doesn't exclude anyone coming into town hall.
Well, only for the meeting though, right?
I don't think it
So-
says that. It's
Marcus, how does that read? Would that read that anyone coming into town hall, period, on any day of any week at any time would have to be screened if we don't opt out of this? Or does it just mean during these public meetings?
I think it can be interpreted to require screening full-time, because what the act says is that individuals are prohibited from carrying a firearm openly or concealed on any property in which any building, any governmental building, including chambers or galleries of a local government's governing body are located. So because your meeting room is here in town hall, I think arguably you'd have to screen full-time if meeting or no meeting. And I think that was part of what went into the initial kind of overall kind of cost discussion. If I'm not mistaken so it's not just screening at meetings, but because
Okay.
this meeting room is located in town hall, you probably have to implement that sort of metal detector or screening almost full time. Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes a significant difference in what we're discussing here then.
But I have a comment.
Okay.
I'm really on the fence with this. I really understand both sides of it. My concern is we have, as a community, spent a lot of time and money in this building trying to protect everybody in this room. And yet one of the most dangerous tools to cause destruction is allowed in. That concerns me. I mean, we've got bulletproof glass everywhere. We've got hidden windows.
Underneath
and
here is bulletproof
got
for us to hide.
all
under.
that, and yet we're prepared to let the gun come into the room. Do we want to test all this stuff? Is that what the meaning is? That's where I get really caught between it. I appreciate the Second Amendment. I believe in that very strongly, but at the same time, I don't want somebody out there taking a shot at me, whether I have a gun or not. I don't want that. I don't think anybody on this board wants anybody to stand up there and take a pop at me. Even if I can pop back. So I'm really kind of torn between that. It's not a cost issue to me. It's more of a, is it the right thing to do? And when? So I'm really kind of torn. I don't know if that's gonna,
Is there a way to differentiate between public meetings versus day-to-day operation of town hall? I don't know. I'm asking. I'm,
The issue with that is somebody could come in during non-hours and leave a weapon here that would not be screened. And in which case we've just totally, we've now prevented ourselves from being able to defend ourselves.
but what are the chances of that?
Well, if they're 1 in 100, do you want to be here that day?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
don't. That's the,
That's the answer then. You don't want to not be protected.
but
I'd rather be
I-
protected by him and him than by anyone else in this room. I'm sorry.
I
I
would
know you
too.
may all be good with your guns, but I trust them way more than I trust anyone else in this room carrying a gun. I don't care who you are.
But if we're not carrying and someone out there does, then we're all defenseless except for the two
Don't
officers.
get into the good guy
No,
with a
I'm-
gun stops a bad guy with a gun argument, because you can look at Uvalde and that really devolves quickly.
So basically, since July 1st of this year, this has changed. Nothing's changed before that. So at any time, it was, anybody could do anything.
Mhm.
The law started on July 1st, saying you can't.
Mhm.
There's significant measurements that we have to do in order to make sure that the people in here are safe at the door, with or without. So
Which we've installed bulletproof glass there. We've installed a door at the top of the stairs that people can't come up. And we've taken a lot of measures.
Oh, I
to
understand.
Protect our employees.
and
We're
also
not protected. As we sit here, we're not protected if somebody walks in that door with a gun.
that's true.
Mhm.
That's true. That's why we're opting out, so that we can protect ourselves. If
See,
that
I
one
don't see it
person
that
comes
way.
in.
I don't
Yep,
see it
I
that
do.
way.
I still go back to, why do I want to invite the gun in the room and even cause the situation to potentially happen? I think that's where I'm at with it. I get, once the gun is here, I get the defense piece of it. I guess I'm at the front end that says, I'll just try to prevent the gun. Can somebody sneak it in? Sure. You know, you can do that anywhere. You can walk out the front door and get blown away. But 99% of the time, if it can prevent the gun from coming in here, then at least I'm taking a proactive action to try to prevent a situation. Doesn't, not 100% guarantee that it's going to prevent the situation, but I feel less comfortable if I invite the gun in here. And I know that somebody out there's got a gun and somebody here's got a gun. I'm very uncomfortable with that. I just don't. I don't see that we need to ask it to come in.
If this had never been brought up,
Would anything be any different?
Well, it has been brought up.
It has been brought up.
It's a law.
I know.
You couldn't do anything prior to the law. You
I-
couldn't
I-
take this sort of an action.
Nothing is, we could have taken an action to prevent it.
Not
it
this
just-
board. This board is pretty split on it.
I'm not inferring our board, but I think that any board in any town could make the decision that no
That's right.
weapons are allowed in town hall.
That's right.
Now it's being pushed upon us by the state. And there's an option to opt out. And I think that this board, and I'm not going to speak for everybody, but myself, I'd rather opt out of being forced to do something, which isn't, I honestly don't think it's going to change anything. If somebody wants to come in with a gun, they're going to come in with a gun. It's not regardless of whether there's two officers standing out there, if somebody gets past them, we're in that same position. I don't see it as inviting someone to come in here with a gun or with anything, with any weapon. I mean, I see it as we're still allowing the public to come in. And we have officers that are now in this room instead of standing out there to protect us. Otherwise, we'd have to have 4 officers here, two to scan and 2 to stand in here.
This
Well-
would be one of these circular arguments.
Mhm.
I
I
have a-
totally agree. I totally agree.
Well, it's a good discussion. You know, it's a good discussion. Thank you, Trish, for bringing it up.
Yeah.
I think that, Chris, go
I
ahead.
have a question. It's more for Marcus. If, say, for example, I just want to clarify, if we were having our board retreat like we do at the Public Works Building, or we're doing the community open house, would this law apply to that then, since we are meeting as trustees?
Sorry, you're meeting as trustees.
Yeah, say, for example, we tend to have our retreats at the Public Work Building. Those are open to the public.
It would apply.
So we have to consider the fact that we have to do that there as well.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. I think all of our answers are answered. Thank you, Chief, very much.
Thank you.
I would like to open it up for or entertain motion on ordinance number 1066.
I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1066, an ordinance of the town of Mead, Colorado, amending chapter 1 of the Mead Municipal Code to add a new article 11 titled Other Laws and Regulations, and adding section 1-9-10 pertaining to the carrying of a firearm in town hall.
Second.
Okay.
Can I note that it's Article 9?
Article 9. My
Thank
bad.
you.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
trustee Parr,
Yes.
trustee Harris,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Shranz,
No.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. Thank you. It passes. We'll move on to our public comment of the second public comment of the evening. This is for any item, whether it is on the agenda or not, and all other guidelines previously stated apply. Would anyone like to speak to the Board of Trustees on any item, whether it is on the agenda or not?
Hello, I just want to say thank you for letting me come up and speak to you about this. My name-
Could you put your name, your name and your address?
Oh yeah, I forgot to say that, sorry. My name's Isaiah Klechkowski. My address is 9166 Ferncrest Street in Firestone. I'm not a resident here, but I know a lot of people here, fortunately, so. And I'm here to propose my Eagle project to all of you, my Boy Scout Eagle project. Mrs. Whitlow and her husband, Mr. Whitlow, have helped me a little bit, not a little bit, a lot with piecing it together. So hold on. It is a flag retirement collection box. So basically it's gonna be like the size of like one of those blue mailboxes you see outside of like a grocery store or whatever, right? Except it's gonna be a little bigger. It's for like collecting flags that need to be retired, because I heard that you guys don't currently have one that's open 24 hours and people just walk in and give you it. So I thought it'd definitely be helpful, especially with like the upcoming flag retirement, because we have thousands of flags in my garage, and we would like to help with the flag retirement too, of course. Let's see. Sorry, I'm nervous. It's gonna be weatherproof. It's gonna be made out of steel. I've already spoken with a welding company out in Longmont, I believe, and they said that they can do it, but there might be a few changes to it and whatnot, but that's okay, as long as it can get done. It will be accessible for those in wheelchairs and whatnot, so even though it's gonna be a tall one, there's gonna be a latch more lower, so that whoever's in a wheelchair can just open it, put their flag in, it'll slide in and close. And no one will be able to like reach in, take anything, because we'll have a separate door in the back with a padlock that only specific people can access to collect the flags. I have some of the what's the word, transportation worked out with Mr. Whitlow, I believe, and the welding company. And then I also we'll have it painted with like an American flag type design on the outside. Let's see. we'll have obviously safety equipment for spray paint and whatnot with the masks. We'll also have water for anyone that's coming out to help. Food, shade, because we don't want anyone to have like some medical emergency. Want to be safe. That's about all I have. If you guys have any questions.
Isaiah, thank you very much. I know you're nervous, but thank you very much. And I thank you for choosing Mead for your Eagle project.
Yeah,
So-
thank you for letting me choose.
Would you like to ask Isaiah a
I
question?
would. Isaiah, terrific job. How many of these boxes will you have?
One for sure, but if you guys need more, I can try to work that in.
Where would you plan on putting this box?
I've spoken to Mayor Whitlow
Mhm.
and her husband. I'm hoping either here or the Mead Public Works, where you guys hold a lot of all the flag retirements and whatnot.
Okay.
Or maybe, I doubt it would be possible, but the Gold Star Memorial would be nice too, but it's okay if it can't be there. I would understand.
Okay. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Chris?
As an Eagle Scout, I know it's nervy to get up there and do this. My question is, are you going to ask for volunteers from around the Mead community to help with the painting project?
It'll be open to volunteers. I will actually be at the Mead Community Day this Saturday. I won't be there the whole time since I have a homecoming dance. But yeah, I'll be there giving information, and if people want to help, I can give them my information and whatnot, and the information of the approximate date. So, yeah.
Thank you, Isaiah. Usually we don't ask questions from the dais to their public comment period, but I thought it was important for us to ask questions. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you for bringing your son tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, Jeremiah, go ahead. Come on up. Just state your name and your address for the record. Thank you. Thanks for being with us.
Hi, my name is Jeremiah Crane. I live at 135th Street, it's Old Town Mead, right, just down from the school. I know that a lot of people like to complain about things that are not going right, but I want to be here and say something that was done correctly and that I really appreciate. And that was the sidewalk that you guys approved. I kind of asked for it, kind of urgently asked for it because my son is handicapped. I don't know if you know that, but living on that side of the street, the east side of 5th Street, we didn't have a sidewalk and I couldn't legally get my son to school. I either had to jaywalk or trespass. And once I brought this up to the town, Mayor Whitlow, she got it underway, and then Manny contacted me, and I just want to say that Principal Ball, crossing guard Gary, and any one of the parents that I've talked to that walk their kids that direction are just very, very happy that the improved safety of that block. I know that drop off and pickup is kind of a cluster there, but that sidewalk made just a great safety improvement for all the kids. And I just want to say thanks to the town for actually approving this and getting it done before school started, so that, I mean, we're 3 weeks in and it's just, I don't have to worry about my kids. And I just want to say thanks. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Jeremiah. We appreciate your time. And thanks to Erica and her team for getting it done. And thanks for Helen and everybody that got it done for Jeremiah and Jenna. So thank you very much. Thanks. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. Okay, we'll move on to our legislative update. Marcus, you're up.
I'm going to ask Trustee Trance to take one and pass one down. A little bit of light reading for all of you for later. And maybe before I get into the update, just a quick maybe procedural pointer on if you do have items that are on the consent agenda where one item needs to be pulled off. I just wanted to remind everybody that Rule 4 of your rules of procedure allow any one individual board member to request that an item be removed from consent, and then you act on that after the balance of the consent agenda, which is exactly what you did tonight. But technically, you don't need a motion and a second and a vote to remove something from the consent agenda. And I think the reason for that is that so each of you individually has the right to remove something and ask questions and make sure that you understand before you're voting on it without the need for a second. So just remember that in the future. I just wanted to point that out. And then let me quickly, so I'm giving a legislative update due to the fact that there was a special legislative session recently. I'm sure a lot of you noticed that in the press. The Denver Post, the Colorado Sun, a lot of the newspapers were obviously covering the special session. So the 2024 special session was convened on Monday, August 26th, and it ended on Thursday, August 29th. So the main reason that special session was convened is that the state legislators were trying to work a deal to lower property taxes even further. So I think the original hope was that Senate Bill 233 that was passed at the end of toward the end of the regular session was intended to function as that property tax relief bill. And based upon what was in Senate Bill 233, I think the state was hopeful that the backers of the two tax cut initiatives that were proposed to be on the November ballot, which were initiatives 50 and 108, that the backers of those two initiatives would pull those items from the ballot, but that didn't occur. So there were some additional discussions between the governor's office and the backers of those two constitutional initiatives, which resulted in the need for the special legislative session. So I think in a nutshell, the bill will decrease revenue to local governments compared with current law on net beginning in 2024 property tax year, which would be this year for taxes collected in 2025. You'll note that at page 2 of the memo that I just distributed, I note at the top there that there were 13 bills total that were introduced during the special session, but only 2 made it across the finish line for signature by the governor, and that was House Bill 24B 1001. This is the property tax compromise bill that I've been talking about, and then House Bill 24B 1003, which provides additional and permanent property tax relief to those owning controlled environmental, agricultural, and greenhouse equipment. So there were 11 bills that were introduced that did not make it through both houses. It's also important to point out that the compromise bill was signed by Governor Polis last week on Wednesday, September 4th, following the withdrawal of initiatives 50 and 108 earlier that same day. The proponents of those two initiatives, Advance Colorado and Colorado Concern, have promised that so long as the terms of the compromise bill remain in place, neither they nor any of their donors will pursue any constitutional ballot measures to further reduce assessment rates or cap revenue growth for a period of 6 years. However, that restriction does not apply to other groups beyond those two who may, have similar constitutional initiatives submitted in the future. I've included 2 attachments to the memo. One is the CML State House report that was issued this past Friday on September 6th. And another one that I think is worth taking a read through is the revised fiscal note that was prepared by Legislative Council staff. That's a total of 12 pages and is attached. You'll note at the bottom of page 2 there, I summarized some of the key components of the compromise bill. And I think one of the important things to point out is right now in Title 29 of the statute, there's what's referred to as the 5.5% revenue limit. So any local government can't exceed the prior year's revenue by more than 5.5% unless you have sought voter approval to exempt yourself from that requirement. This new bill replaces that 5.5% limit with a 5.25% annual limit, but that annual limit is going to be applied on a 2-year rolling cycle. So it's really a 10.5% 2-year revenue limit. And one of the components in this compromise bill is that it actually includes the ballot language that all local governments will have to utilize if they seek to exempt themselves from this new 10.5% limit. And the bill is clear that a local government can exempt itself for 1 year or a multiple year period or in perpetuity. But I think it's really gonna take a year or two to really see how a lot of this plays out. Because you'll note that one of the and on page 3 of the memo, there's a summary table of what this bill does. And you'll notice that one of the key components of this bill is that they're lowering the assessment rates, not only for residential property, but for commercial and industrial property as well. So for example, commercial property has historically been assessed at 29% of actual value in the state of Colorado. You'll note that assessment rate is going down to 25% for commercial and agricultural property, and 26% for industrial. And similarly, there's a reduction in the residential assessment rate as well. So what that means really is that the total the total assessed value will be likely ratcheted down a little bit, and the town's mill levy then applied to that assessment, that assessed value, will likely result in lower tax revenues for next year. But again, we a lot of it we don't know quite yet. I know that DOLA is pretty active right now in setting up some informational sessions for local governments. I think Mary's already signed up for one that's being conducted by DOLA on September 18th. So a lot of this will be kind of wait and see in terms of how a lot of this will be implemented. But hopefully this memo and the attachments that I've provided will provide a bit more information that you can digest when you have time. But maybe let me pause there. Are there any questions that you have at this point?
No, maybe the legislature.
Okay,
Can I ask one question, Marcus?
sure.
Previous debrucing efforts that already eliminated the 5.5%, are they still in play? If a community already debruced? Or does it have to re-bruce or whatever?
Yeah,
Debruce?
I don't have a clear answer on that, but it's my understanding that I think the legislative intent here is that they're asking local governments to go back and essentially re-exempt themselves from the new 10.5% limit. So I think yes, I think that likely there would be a future ballot issue or a ballot question that would go to voters at some point in the future.
So as right now, we don't have to do anything but wait and see.
I think that's right.
Okay.
Yeah. I
There's
think
no
it's,
measure that nothing that we can do to forecast the future. Okay. Okay.
oh, and I just real quick, also at the bottom of page 3, you'll see I have a language there. It says other highlights of the special session. There was a concurrent resolution that was sponsored by Representatives Weissman and Hansen, introduced as House Concurrent Resolution 24B 1001, in order to refer to the voters a constitutional amendment restricting future statewide property tax ballot measures. That was supported by CML. Republicans indicated from the outset that the resolution would be a deal breaker. That concurrent resolution did pass the House with the required 2/3 majority vote, but the sponsors ultimately withdrew that concurrent resolution after it became clear that they would not have anywhere near the 2/3 majority required in the Senate. And so anyway, I just wanted to point that out as well. And I do believe from what I've read, Senator Kirkmeyer, I think was pretty heavily involved in both defeating that concurrent resolution and getting this compromise bill passed. So that's it.
All right. Any other comments to him? All right. Heavy reading tonight. All right, next is elected official reports by the town trustees. Anything?
I have one.
Herman and then Chris. Hold on. Go ahead, Herman.
I have a question. I think it's of staff. Late last year, our HR consultant had committed to us that she would develop, conduct, and administrate a employee satisfaction survey. I've not seen or heard anything about any of that. Can anybody give me a status on what's going on with that?
I have nothing to report on that. We didn't task our HR consultant. I'm not sure if it was, are you referring to Elaine was going to do that? Yeah, so we have a new HR consultant and actually Mary and I are meeting with them later this week. If the board wishes, we can add that to their task list.
I would like to ask for that survey. It helps me, I'm sure the rest of the board a lot with appraisals and evaluations and things of that nature to have that input. So I would like to, do I need to motion that?
I don't know. Do we want to find out how much that would cost? Before we do that? I don't know. Like how long, how much work would it take for them to put together a survey? I don't know. Like things always cost more than you think they're gonna cost.
And it just, as an FYI, we are meeting with the HR consultant as far as my review, and they are doing a peer review of all my direct reports as they did last year and the year before. So, but we can get a quote from them to do oh, you want an overall for all the staff?
Yeah, all employees.
Okay. Yep, we can come back with that.
Yeah, and that should be an anonymous satisfaction survey.
Sure.
Okay.
I attended the public education parade on Saturday morning. It was a lot of fun to see. The Mead feeder system had quite a bit of people out there. The kids looked like they had a great time, even though it wasn't heavily attended on the streets. But it was definitely a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of chatting with some of the teenagers and find out what they're looking forward to in our town. So be kind of interested to see them in future things and see what they want to do.
All right. I just wanted to say thanks to the Mead Police Department and the community engagement team for Saturday's key ceremony for the escort and for putting it together and helping them do that for Corporal Dinsmore. It was a very well attended ceremony. I got to walk through the house. It was wonderful to have a home built for a disabled veteran. So thank you very much, Chief and Lorelei, for giving some of the time to our newest community members. So thank you. I hope I get to see all of you on Saturday. It's going to be a busy week, I'm sure of it, with all of your other commitments for your friends and your family. And I would like to ask a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please, Mary.
Trustee Adams,
Yes.
trustee Shranz,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cartwright,
Yes.
trustee Harris,
Yes.
trustee Parr,
Yes.
Mayor Whitlow.
Yes. The September 9th, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees is now adjourned at 7:08. Thank you, everyone, for attending, both virtually and in person. Please drive home carefully, and we'll see you Saturday.